Good morning, guys. It's Rumana here from Bonsai with Rumana. Hope you guys are doing well. It's yet another week that has passed by. It's cold here in the Western Cape, and because we're deep into winter now, I thought it would be great to show you guys what we do in winter. So I'm going to be doing two things today. I'm going to be showing you guys how to treat deadwood by applying lime sulfur, and then I'll also be showing you guys how to prepare your soil for winter. So during winter for the upcoming spring. So when you're near repotting trees, then you don't have to stress about preparing soil mixture. So I'll go a bit into more detail about how we prepare soil during winter. So first of all, I just wanted to show you guys the tree that I'm going to work on. So I'm going to be working on this tree. So I'm going to be applying lime sulfur to the top of the tree. I did work on this tree, I think about it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and I removed the moss from the tree. So what I'll be doing this time around is just cleaning up the dead wood and then applying lime sulfur and explaining to you guys how we mix lime sulfur and why we're using lime sulfur to preserve the tree. So let's jump straight into that. Let me just go into the deal screen over here. So the first thing that I would like to show you guys is how to just prepare the lime sulfur before you start applying it. So lime sulfur is very strong, and also it's very dangerous and toxic. So whenever you guys are using lime sulfur, you see I'm using a container here that I can dispose of. But then also, if you have any lime sulfur left, do not dispose it in the drains because it is toxic and it might be harmful for animals, and also it will go into the waste system, water waste system. So we do not want that. So this is a new bottle of lime sulfur. I'm just opening it up now. Okay, so what we normally do is we apply it one to one. So let me just throw in the lime sulfur over here. So yeah, that's more than enough. You don't need a lot. Close this up. Okay, and then I'm just going to add the water just to show you guys. So the ratio is 1 to 1. So that's that over there. So now we literally just add, just like that. That should be 50-50 now. And then I'm just going to stir it up. So I'm also using one of these small paint brushes that I'm going to dispose afterwards, because you don't want any of this left. So you might need to apply it a few times before you actually see the results. So let me just show you guys how I normally go about when I'm working on these. So what I normally do is I just use a toothbrush and I just brush off all the dust from the deadwood. Brush this off. So you're trying to get off as much of the dirt as possible, and all the other buildup. The reason why we're preserving this deadwood is that you spend so much time carving it, and you need to keep it as nice as possible for as long as possible, because what happens is the root of the deadwood rots, and then you get bugs and fungus that grow on it, and it will later just decay. So the best thing to do is to clean it up regularly and apply lime sulfur. The other thing you have to keep in mind is after I'm going to apply this lime sulfur, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep the tree indoors a bit so that the lime sulfur can dry before going back out again and putting the tree back in the rain, because the rain will just wash off all the lime sulfur that you have applied. So let me just show you guys how I apply this. So make sure that you only take enough to cover a small area, because what's going to happen is this is going to be very runny, so it's going to run. So I would normally start from the top. Be careful not to breathe it in, so rather stand a bit further away or use a mask when applying lime sulfur. There you go. So you just do small parts at a time. So you don't. And it smells very bad, I can promise you guys that. It smells like rotten egg. So if you're doing this, try and do it outside, away from animals, and also make sure that none of the lime sulfur drips into the plants, because that might just damage your tree. You might just lose parts of your tree. I'm just going to apply this to this entire part over here, and then you guys can see how that's done. So as you can see, I'm just doing small parts, because you don't want this to run onto the live parts of the tree, because it will dry it out and the tree will die. So only cover dead parts, and make sure that you remove all the bark from the deadwood when you're applying this. If you like, what happens with this lime sulfur, it's almost like a yellowish type of color now, but when it dries out, it goes completely white. So if you want to, you guys are more than welcome to just add a bit of ink, and I promise you, you don't need a lot of ink, you just need like a few drops, and it will change the color drastically, because I know here in South Africa, the deadwood looks a bit different than it does in other places in the world. So you can play around with whatever works on your tree, but because this is a juniper, the white deadwood works very well with this. Make sure that I'm applying it everywhere. And you can see, you can just have to take your time. There's no rush. You have to apply it all amounts at a time. Yeah, we're almost done with this part. It's important that you don't rush through this process, because you want to cover all the gaps in the tree. You want to make sure that you cover all the entire part of the deadwood that's preserved. So with junipers, it's not necessary to do this after you worked on it initially. What I normally do is I let the tree dry out for a few months before I start work, before I apply lime sulfur to that. Because if you just create the dead wood, what will happen is the wood will still be soft and wet and damp. So if you're applying lime sulfur to that, you do stand the risk of it running straight down between the bark and the sap, and then it might just kill another part of the tree that you did not intend to have as part of your deadwood. And that's important, because as you guys can see here, this is at the top of the tree. So there is a part of this design that's not dead, and this is the apex of the tree. So you need to be very careful when you get to the area close to the live veins, so that you don't apply lime sulfur on that areas. Top part. Yeah, so it's very easy to apply lime sulfur, and you can find it at most of your big garden centers. Also hardware stores sell them, so it'll be easy to get it. Just a side note, lime sulfur does expire once you open it, so it might lose its effectiveness. So yeah, so you might have to just check like all other chemicals, just check the expiry date, so that then when you use it, it still has its full potential and it hasn't weakened. Okay. Well, that's the last part of the redwood over here. We just need to clean up. So there you go. So now we just allow this to dry for a day or two. And as you can see, the top part of this is already starting to turn white. Okay, so there's another piece of deadwood over here. I'm just going to be working on. Let me just clean this up here. Let's just get all the dust off before we start applying our lime sulfur. Yeah. Just the dead parts. As you see, you don't need a lot of lime sulfur. Just need to cover it. So you might need to come back in a week or two just to make sure that you did apply it properly. But I normally give it time to dry, and then I would give it a second coat just to make sure that it did get the entire deadwood pot. There you go. So that's the small deadwood over there. And then this tree also has another part of deadwood here in the front part over here, which if I tilt this forward, you'll see is close to the soil. So what I'll do now is I'll just clean up that area and then apply lime sulfur to that area as well. Because as you guys can recall from a few live streams ago, this was the part that was actually filled with moss. So I cleaned up the moss because as you can see over there, I just tilted slightly forward, you can see there where it's still damp, that was where the moss used to be. Okay, so now that's all cleaned up. Let's apply the lime sulfur to that. And then I always like to use these small art brushes because they get into all the small nooks and crannies without any ease, and they're also easy to buy, and they're also easy to dispose of. They're not too expensive, so I normally wait till it's dried out before I dispose of it, and I also just wrap it in a piece of plastic just to make sure that it doesn't contaminate anything. Deadwood, yeah. So you will see that there's some of this deadwood that's already green, just moss growing on there. Let me just turn this so you can see a piece of deadwood in the center here. Only going to go until here, otherwise it's too close to the roots. It might just run into the soil. Okay. So there's another tree that I'm actually gonna treat the deadwood. I'm just gonna pass this tree on, and I'm gonna grab the other one. So here's another tree with a deadwood feature over here. This here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do exactly the same. Just gonna clean this up. Make sure that I get all the dust and grime out of here. So this is a bit of an unconventional tree. So you normally don't have dead wood on ficuses. This is a normal Cape fig, and it actually bears fruit. So this deadwood part here was because there were three. You can see there were three trees, and it has quite a bit of deadwood. So the part at the back over here, just going to turn it around so you can actually see that. Excuse me. So this part over here, it used to be three trunks that were close to each other. So now what happened is the front part of the tree fell away, and I replanted into this part, and then this deadwood over here I'm just preserving because I actually like this. It's a very, very unconventional tree, as you guys can see. So it has a big part of, just lift it up so you guys can see there's a big piece of deadwood over here. It stems all the way from here and it moves this way. And then at the front here, it has a nice piece of deadwood. And the only live part is this part over here. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 branches. And as you guys can see, I just let it grow. out a bit. So what I'll do now is I'll leave it to grow, and then just before the buds start opening, I'll bend the branches into place and then take that back. So I have another guest in the studio today. So for the next part of the demonstration, I will introduce my daughter to you guys. And she's actually just going to help me with part of that demonstration, just to show you guys how we prepare the soil. But I just want to apply this lime sulfur on this before I ask her to join me. Okay, so I'm almost done with this piece of deadwood over here. So this tree hasn't been on any shows, and also it hasn't, nobody's ever actually seen this tree. So you guys are the first guys to actually see this tree. I don't think I've wrote a blog on this tree. So yeah, so you guys are the first to actually see this tree. He's been with me for about 3 years, and I must say it's done a magnificent job, and it's given me great pleasure to work with this tree. So I can't wait to actually put this tree on its first show. I'm going to plant it into a different pot, because obviously this blue pot doesn't work with this style of the tree, and also there's a big contrast between this blue and the leaves. So yeah, I'll choose something that's a bit more appropriate. I'm just going to pull this slide to the back so you guys can actually see me apply the lime sulfur to the big part over here. And it's a good thing just to keep in mind that you always put the open container just on the opposite side from where you are, because if you breathe in these chemicals, yeah, it's going to be difficult to breathe, and it could be dangerous for you. Yes, I'm just going to turn this tree quickly. See up into the wood. Yeah, and if you're applying this, just make sure that you're applying it outside in a nice open area, because the smell is quite bad, as I said earlier. But I just want to emphasize that, because you don't have an understanding wife, or if you live with other people, it's not or smaller children or babies, I do not advise that you apply this your trees in the house, because the smell is bad, and also it's very toxic, so you don't want to spill it on carpets or on the flooring in the house. As you see, I'm just doing small parts of the tree. This deadwood is actually coming along or aging very nicely, because it took me a while to get it to this point. So I have a little Dremel tool, and I just worked on the deadwood, and I removed some of the chunkier parts just to make it look a bit more natural. So it's also always nice just to try out new carving ideas. And as you guys know, I like experimenting with different types of techniques, and also have all different types of trees. So I don't have one specific style or tree that I like. I like to experiment with with as much trees as possible, so that I can always just grow my knowledge and also improve on my skills, because you never know what tree you're going to work on next. So I like that opportunity. So I see this is in your way over there. So that's all the dead wood on this tree. Okay, so let me do the small part at the top over here. There's a small part, that, and then I'll go on to the bigger part at the back. Here's another part of this tree that I haven't worked on yet. I'll probably do in a later stage. And it's actually where it's where I remove the tree, or the top part of this tree, and this is this part over here. So you guys will be able to see it in the top screen. So yeah, is a part of the tree that where I've removed it, just flat, but I'm waiting for it to age naturally before I start working on that. Just turn the tree around. Where did I get? Let me just put the lime sulfur to the side. Move this back. And then I'll start applying the lime sulfur to that big piece of deadwood over there. As you guys can see on the pot itself, the top part of it is already turning white. I'm going to step to the side. And also, it's a good idea to do this throughout the year, because you want your deadwood to be protected, especially in winter. So you don't want to start applying your lime sulfur to your tree in winter and then there was no application of lime sulfur throughout the year, because then it's not going to help you that much, because you need this to be dried to actually protect your tree and make sure that it doesn't rot. I can't emphasize the smell enough to give anybody nightmares. As you guys can see, I haven't removed a lot of the deadwood on this tree. I actually left it there because it's nice, big and bulky, and it draws your attention. And I'm rather going to build my branch structure around the deadwood than make the deadwood smaller, because I do like the look. Almost done with this part, and then we can move over the second part of the video where I show you guys how I prepare my soil mixture. Just to apply all of this. You don't have to be in a rush, just make sure that you cover the entire deadwood. So you will see you have to apply it a few times on the same place, because what happens is as soon as you apply it, the wood sucks it in. That just allows the wood to be preserved. At the bottom area over here. Down the tree around so you guys can see that's where I applied it on that side. And I'm going to do the back side over here. And here you can already see how it's starting to turn white on that side. So that I cover the entire tree over here. Turn the tree a bit more. Yeah. So I can actually get on the light over here. And when after you're done applying the lime sulfur, just make sure that you clean your hands properly with soapy water. And try not to touch your face after you work with it, to make sure that you don't get it into your system. Is that part covered? This last part here. Okay, so it's just a tip that I need to apply. Then I'm done with this. Now make sure that I get all these more exposed areas over here. Yeah. Let's do the bottom part over here. Make sure we cover this front part. Make sure that the side bottom part is good. Just make sure. Okay, that's done. I'm just going to put this one side. Move this to this side. Okay, and move it over here. So that's done. So I just want to wipe my hands quickly. Yeah. I'm going to use sanitizer just to clean my hands, just to make sure. I made 100% sure that I didn't have any of the on my hands, but I just want to make sure. I'll just clean this off. Okay. Okay, just gonna clean my hands. Okay, so the next thing is I'm just gonna show you guys what I do to prepare my soil. So there's different areas or different components that we need to prepare when we working with our soil mixture. So the first area that I just wanted to show you guys was the soil. So I normally buy my soil in these big bags, and what I do is I use different types of sieves just to separate the soil into smaller parts. So what I'll do now is I'll just ask my daughter quick to join me. So this is my daughter Diana. So I'll ask her just to sieve the soil for us quickly. So we'll start with this. So we normally start with this bigger sieve. It has the big holes, is about 2 centimeters in diameter. And what we do, just going to add the soil to that. So this is the soil that I normally buy. So it's bark that's been decomposed. So I'm just going to throw this into the sieve over here, and then Tiana will just sieve that for us quickly, so you guys can see how what happens there. And I just want to get another contact. Okay, everything through. Okay, so you guys will see what's left on this side is still a few of the. So that's the bigger particles that we sieved out now, and I just want to take out a few so you can actually see. So what we normally do is we try to sieve out these bigger pieces of bark, because this is just going to take up space in your in your soil mixture. So what I'm going to do now is just going to do it again, because sometimes some of the bigger parts just does, some of the bigger parts fall through. I'm just going to, so I'm using the same soil that we just sieved. Just throw that into the sieve again. Oops. Okay. Just add this in there as well. Okay. Sieve them. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to dispose of this. Okay, so that's all the bigger chunks done. So now what I do is, you guys can see that there's a difference between, this is the finer coarse and this is the bigger particles that we've actually sieved out. So the last thing to do now would be just to separate all the smallest, the fine soil out of these sieved sand. Because what happens now is that you have all these small dense particles, and what happens is they actually just compact and they block your roots, and they don't get any air, so they just how can you say, it just smudges or dampens all the air out of the soil. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to grab this other pot, and I'm going to use this sieved soil. Throw that in there, and I'm going to ask Diana to sieve this for us again over that pot. So now we're just removing all the smaller particles with the fine soil. Okay, just do this. So now you will see that your soil has a bit more air in it. I just want to show you guys how that looks now. Okay, so that part's done. So now you guys can actually, I'm going to show you guys, let me just see where's, okay, there. So this is the new sieved soil. Okay, that's with all the bigger chunks taken out and the smallest, finest particles out. And then I just want to show you this very fine particles that we took out. So that is your very fine soil. It's almost like, it looks like small tea bag leaves. So that we took out, and this is the soil that we're going to use to mix our soil mixture. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the side, and I'm just going to ask Diana to add in some of these stones over here. So what we do is we have our soil, and then we add, so this, we have 3 parts of sand, and then we add 6 parts of stone. Okay. We add that into the, over there. Okay. Just add a bit more. There we go. And then what we add in on top of that is we have organic bone meal. So just add like 1/10 of a part, because this helps the roots bounce back. And the last component that I add is this micro multicoat, is over there. So I literally add 1 teaspoon, literally just that teaspoon, to 5 kilograms of soil. So this is not 5, so I just literally added 1 pinch of soil and 1 pinch of multicoat into that. Let's just mix this so you guys can actually see how the different parts of the soil mixture Okay, so I'm just going to add some of the soil again that we sieved previously. Okay, just mix that up. Okay, and just add one more. Sorry, I didn't measure out exactly now, so it just looks a bit weird. So we're just mixing that through. Just add another hand. Okay, and this, she's just gonna mix that through for us. Okay. So now I'll just show you guys how that soil mixture looks after we're done mixing it. Okay. So there we go. So this is the soil mixture. So here you can clearly see that you have pieces of stone in there. You have your soil. In this case, we have our bark, pieces of bark in there. And then you have your multi-cord and you have your bone meal in there. So that is how I prepare my soil mixture. And then I just wanted to show you guys. So if you guys are doing any plantings on slabs or anything like that, what you can do is you can add in peat. And you guys will see that peat is a very, let me just show it to this camera. It's a very fine soil mixture. So it holds a lot of water. So if you guys have doing landscape plantings or slant planting or slab plantings, you guys can always add in some peat, and that would just help you guys to keep a bit more moisture in your soil. So with this type of soil that we have over here, it's very free draining soil. So during summer it will need a lot of watering, but especially for winter, because we get a lot of rainfall in winter, you want your soil to be freely draining. So whenever the water is done, at least within the next 10 to 15 seconds, all the water should be out of the container, and the soil should retain the water that the plant will need for that day. So that is why we're using this free forming type of soil mixer. And then there's another thing to keep in mind with this soil mixture. So this is a soil mixer that I've been using for quite some time now. And what you can do is you can add bits of more ingredients depending on your own specific types of trees. So you can add, so this works for most trees, but if you have trees like azaleas, you will need to add a few more ingredients to make it a bit more the soil a bit more sour. And also if you're working on pines, you're going to need to use some of the old soil just to throw it with this soil and mix it up before you repot the tree into that, because you need some of the micro elements in the soil. So there's a bacteria that the pines actually need in the tree. So if you remove all of that from the pot, the tree is going to die after you repotted it. So just please keep that in mind whenever you working with soil mixtures. So that's that for this week. So just to recap, I'm just going to ask Diana to pass me the juniper that I applied the soil mixture to, just to show you guys how quickly that process works. So here you guys can already see that the tree, let me just shift over to the camera over here. Yeah, so here already you can see that the top part of the tree is already white. So it's not, let me just show you guys what the color was before. It was this yellow type of color over here, yellow orange, and now it's turned into this white over here. And I literally applied this like 10-20 minutes ago, and you can already see the results over here. So it's turned into a white type of color, and it's not shocking white, but it is a white color, and it will keep on changing until it's fully dry. So what I normally do is I would leave it to dry out completely now, and then after this is dried out, tomorrow I would just apply another coat, and then I would leave it to dry. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching this episode, this live stream of Bonsai with Romano. So thank you very much for all the support. Please like my channel if you like the content, and then subscribe to my Facebook pages as well as the Facebook group. And then you guys should receive notifications for any live streams and video that I upload. So I'm just gonna thank Diana for assisting me today, and that's it. So see you guys again next week. Cheers.